Hi, I'm Chris Jones, Technical Director at Posturite. Welcome to another webinar from Posturite. Today we have David Kirtley with us talking about contract seating and how to choose the best office chair. David will be presenting the important factors of what to look for when selecting contract seating. Drawing on nearly 15 years experience with Posturite and his degree in sports and exercise science, David is our resident expert on contract seating. He'll present a number of features and benefits that should be considered when selecting office seating, and the notion that the procurement of office seating should be seen as an investment as opposed to a cost. David has been sales manager for Office Environments, which is a division of Posturite. Has been a proud member of the Posturite team for nearly 15 years. He's part of our senior management team and has been with us since its inception, since 2006. In his current position, he heads up the Office Environments team and works closely with customers and suppliers nationwide, resulting in an excellent knowledge of the issues found in offices all over the country and how to prevent and solve them. So David, without further ado, and I can stop wittering, it's over to you to hear all about it.
Great, thanks Chris. Thanks for the introduction. Welcome along to this webinar. Thanks very much for joining us. As Chris said, my name's David Kirtley. I've been working for Posturite for a number of years and have become the resident expert on task seating. So before we begin, I will warn you, my wife is due to give birth to our second child at any point in the next few days. So if I do need to cut you off for whatever reason, I hope you understand, but fingers crossed you can last just a few more hours. So please bear with me. So let's just start by saying that contract seating and selecting the right chair for your business can be very confusing, and what we want to do is to make this as simple as possible for you. This presentation will take around 20 to 25 minutes and will take you through things to look for in a supplier and a product, and at the end there'll be a couple of minutes of how we may be able to help you in selecting the right chair for your business. But in putting this presentation together, we've consulted with a number of our key clients and also called upon the experience of some of our senior managers. Hopefully you'll find this presentation beneficial, and as ever, if you have any questions, then please ask them in the usual way. So what we'll look at is what you need to look for in selecting a suitable supplier as well as a product, some of the functions and ergonomics of the chairs, and then briefly present a process which we think is best followed in selecting the right chair for your business. After this presentation, we'll send you some additional information relating to contract seating that you should find beneficial. What we've found in looking at this process, though, is that as an independent dealer, we look at the very same things from our suppliers as you would from your suppliers. So there are a number of similarities. So first of all, we want to establish the stability of the supplier. And one way of doing this is what is their financial history. So while nothing is guaranteed, we can safeguard ourselves to an extent by doing the right sort of credit checks. The last thing you want is your supplier going bust shortly after you've established a relationship with them. Look at their history. What are they known for, and what is their specialist area? Do they have case studies, for example, to back up the work they're proposing? And often different organisations have different motivations and drivers, and an architect or designer, for example, may have a different driver than a workplace ergonomics company, who will have very different motives to a stationary company supplying furniture. So what you really want to identify early on in the overall process is the company that you are about to engage with suitable for the business needs? Okay, and if you can answer yes to this, then that's a really big first step. And part of this process will inevitably involve scrutinising the levels of service from that supplier, and not just before and during the sales process, but what is their after-sales service like? Are they able to put a service level agreement in place for you? And better still, can the supplier provide you with any endorsements for their clients or put you in contact with them? The after-sales service is really important and is as important, if not more so, than at any other stage. The next question you may want to ask is the supplier independent? Okay, this, in our opinion, is really important. And one of the pitfalls of working with manufacturers directly is you will only have access to their products and nothing else. Okay, some suppliers, again, may be committed or tied in with only one manufacturer. So again, this can limit your options, so it's worth checking. We believe that it's vital that your supplier is independent, and as a result, will give you impartial advice on their product range across a number of manufacturers. The chances are that you're more likely to get the right product for your organization rather than being limited to one manufacturer's range. So independence for us is really important. Lastly, on the supplier front, does the supplier offer a trial of their products? And this may seem like common sense, but often this isn't the case. Ask if there is any commitment in place following a trial of the product as well. After the initial consultancy process, the trial is really important, this goes without saying, but this process should be effective and robust and right for your organization. We often see companies carry out what we call a canteen trial, which is basically a lineup of chairs often put in the canteen, hence the name, which is nothing more than a beauty parade and based entirely on the initial comfort of a chair. Okay, so it's important in our opinion to carry out a longer term trial with a select group of employees or small user group and ask the supplier to be involved with this process. Okay, are they happy to demonstrate the chairs to a group of people? And part of this process is identifying what is important to you as a company, what you're trying to work towards. Okay, and fundamentally, you want these chairs to help increase the overall productivity of the organization. This should be a priority in our opinion, which relies on good ergonomics and other factors such as aesthetics, environmental credentials, etc. can be significant, but it is important to identify your priorities early on and make sure the trial process you've put in place measures these priorities. So looking at the product, some of the real basic stuff, what we want to do first and foremost, is the product compliant? Okay, does it have the correct certification? Does it meet the regulations given for that given environment? And this might change depending where the chairs are used. Okay, for example, chairs used in a 24-hour environment need to be certified as such. Okay, what is the chair's weight limit? And is this suitable for the environment it's being used? A good standard of chair should have a weight limit of around, what's 23.5 stone or 150 kilos is the upper standard. So it's worth checking, as this often the case that some of the cheaper chairs tend to have a lower weight limit. Then we start looking at the environment, and is the chair suitable for that given environment? And there's so many things to consider. Often standard office chairs are pretty simple to specify, but other environments may have different requirements. Okay, so just things like, what height is the work surface that's being worked at, which obviously affect the gas stem. Is it hard floor or carpeted floor? Okay, does the chair need to meet clean room conditions, or does the fabric need to be cleanable? Okay, certain environments, things like security and cold control rooms, need to be more robust than they are in any other normal environment. So we just need to take those things into consideration. These are just a few examples, and by working our way through this, we can start to focus on the right chair. We then start looking at the service levels. Okay, and even though we've identified the service levels from that supplier, they might also vary from one product to another. And just to give an example, we work with some suppliers who can work to a 2 to 3 day lead time on small numbers. Okay, other suppliers work to 12 weeks. Okay, so there can be a significant difference. So it's important to identify a desired lead time for the project really early on, communicate this with the supplier so they can discuss order dates and timelines for the project so that everyone then knows what to expect and when. Okay, and following on from this, how quickly can top-up orders or replacement parts be supplied? Again, does this supplier or manufacturer keep stock? And can they respond quickly to requests? Is the product adaptable for different users? Okay, can you add or remove armrests or neckrests, for example? Can you retrofit a different size backrest if the need arises? Or different length gas stems available for taller users? Being able to adapt the chair can be really important. Is it easy to repair or replace the parts? And a good example would be this. If an employee spills a hot drink on the seat, for example, it stains the seat. Okay, can the seat be replaced easily? Okay, additionally, if after a few years the seat fabric has worn through, can you just replace the seat pad, or do you need to replace the entire chair? Okay, does that supplier, do they have a team of technicians who can carry out these repairs at short notice? We know that products get misused in some cases, and they do occasionally break. So how can the consequences of this be minimized? And related to this, can the product be maintained or serviced? And sometimes this can be done free of charge, but more often it's a chargeable service. But this can extend the lifespan of a product significantly, so it could be well worth the investment. And lastly, is the chair future-proofed? Okay, what you don't want to do is buy a load of chairs for your business to find out 6 months later, as you need more chairs, that it's no longer available, and nor any of the parts. Okay, so it's well worth checking. We think, can the supplier give you the right assurances that the product and parts will be available in the future? Let me start looking at warranty and relating to quality. In our opinion, or certainly in my opinion, the best indication of the quality of a product is its warranty. Okay, put simply, the longer the warranty, the greater the confidence that the manufacturer has in that product lasting. Okay, it's really simple. Following on from that, analyze the warranty as well. Okay, identify what is covered and, more importantly, what isn't. And often we see manufacturers who have a headline-grabbing long warranty of 10 years, 12 years, whatever. But then when this is broken down, some parts are only covered for 2 or 3 years. Okay, so it's definitely worth checking and seeing the details of that particular warranty. And then we come on to the environment and the environmental credentials of a chair. And this can be more significant to some companies more than others. And again, with the warranty, it's worth analysing. Okay, so some of the real basic stuff. Is the chair made of recycled materials, and what percentage of it is recyclable at the end of its life? Okay, this is really basic stuff. It's a real basic measure, and is the absolute minimum in our opinion. Looking further in depth, you may be able to get carbon footprint of a chair. And again, it's worth just checking at what point the carbon footprint is measured from. Okay, is it at source, or is it just from the factory of the client? Okay, and these can be significantly different. So make sure we're just not comparing apples with eggs. One of the most significant factors which affects the environmental value and impact of a chair is its durability. Okay, if it lasts longer, then it's going to be better for the environment. Okay, a chair that has a short lifespan, needs to be replaced after a few years, has a significant impact. Okay, one that lasts longer obviously doesn't. Okay, and some manufacturers will be able to provide environmental declarations on the product, so a bit more in-depth reporting on the environmental impact of the particular product. And this can often include an expected lifespan of a chair. So in the case of RH and Hawg chairs, for example, they're independently tested and measured, and their expected lifespan is around 15 to 16 years. And ergonomics. Well, when it comes to seating ergonomics, we probably know this area better than anyone. And having been in this business for nearly 25 years, we seem to know what we're talking about. And there's a number of factors that can affect the ergonomics of a chair. Okay, firstly, is the chair adjustable? And can it be adjusted to a wide range of users? We know we're not going to cover everyone, 100% of your users, but if we can do the majority, then we're doing pretty well. The chairs should be easy to adjust, and should, where possible, those adjustments be intuitive and require little instructions. Okay, this can help determine if the chair is suitable for your employee, but it's the type of adjustment that also matters. Okay, we believe that the chair should also have some sort of movement mechanism. However, not all mechanisms are the same, and we're going to touch on that a little bit later. Good ergonomics, as we know, can support the productivity of the user, and as a result, the overall productivity of your organization. This is obvious, but it's often overlooked. And by using a good, proven ergonomic chair can also decrease work absence, contributing to the overall profitability of your company. So good ergonomics is essential. And I want to look briefly at return of investment. Okay, and the perception is that a good ergonomic office chair is expensive. We like to look at it as an investment and rather than a cost, and I'll explain why here. Okay, so if we assume that you're buying a chair to help your staff be as productive as possible, and that it's the one work tool that is used more than anything else, then it's certainly worthy of the investment. Okay, so let's take a good ergonomic chair. It costs around about £400. This will give you some really good ergonomic credentials, 10-year warranty, basically a really good, really reliable chair. Okay, so if we assume that it should last just the 10 years of the warranty, then they're broken down. This is just £40 per year. Okay, you break that down by the day, that's 16p a day based on someone earning around, it's broken down, it's about 16p a day. Okay, So based on someone earning £20,000 a year, that's 1 minute of work per employee per day. Okay, so any chair that helps someone do more than a minute of work per day pays for itself. Okay, and I'd be happy to bet that a good chair compared to a poor chair can increase your productivity by a lot more than just a minute a day. Okay, you know your organisation. What else has such a significant effect on your productivity to cost as little as 16p a day? Okay, and as a percentage of a person's cost to the business, about 0.1%, so pretty insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Invest in your chairs, it's well worth it and can have a significant effect on your company's productivity and profitability. And in my mind and our mind, buying cheap chairs is a false economy. So now we start looking at the function of the chairs, and what I'll do, I'll go through some parts of this pretty quickly. We've got a really good resource on our website on chair adjustments. I'll put the link there and I'll send it to you afterwards. But I will go through some of the functions that we think are more important than others and also clarify the difference between some of the movement mechanisms. Okay, some of this might be a bit basic to some of you, but again, you may want to go to our website for a bit more information. As I said, I'll email everyone a link after this. Yeah, some really basic stuff. Seat height, probably the most obvious of adjustments. Make sure it's suitable for the height of the work surface. And also bear in mind, in recent years, the height of standard desking has increased. Okay, it used to be 71, 72 centimeters. We now see 73, 74, 75 centimeters in some cases. So it might be worth considering a slightly taller gas stem than the norm. Okay, we know the population's getting taller as well. It's very rare, from our experience, that you need a shorter gas stem, but it's quite common to need a taller one, so maybe bear that in mind. And in an ideal world, height adjustable desks would be in place, allowing you to adjust the height of the desk to the user's requirements as well as the chair. We then come on to backrest adjustment, and there's two measures here if you don't count the additional lumbar support, again, which we'll come on to in a moment. The first and most important is the backrest height adjustment. Okay, and what we want to do as much as possible is to ensure that the lumbar support on the backrest fits into the lumbar curve of your back. It's really simple. Okay, and this is done in a number of different ways. Best method is a push button adjustment. Okay, ratchet mechanisms seem to be the most common, and worse still, the screw tension adjustments. I'm saying if we can move towards the push button as much as possible, we'll see the benefit there. As to the back angle, even some of the very best chairs on the market don't have independent back angle adjustment, so it's not quite as important. Reclining the backrest too far can take the support away from the back and can increase strain elsewhere, such as the neck or the shoulders if you're doing desk work. So having backrest angle adjustment is not always necessary, so just bear this in mind. Seat depth adjustment it's in our eyes, it's one of the most important features on a chair. And with the average office worker ranging anywhere from sort of, I don't know, 5 foot up to 6'4", having seat depth that adjusts is paramount. Okay, too short and you can increase pressure on the back of the legs, and too long for shorter users may mean that they can't actually sit back into the chair as the front edge of the chair impacts the back of their knee. Okay, our recommendation is about 2 or 3 finger gap between the back of the knee and the front edge of the seat. Okay, obviously and within reason, the greater seat depth range on the chair, the better. Looking at seat tilt, forward seat tilt is generally a good thing. So by allowing the knee to be slightly lower than the hips, it helps the pelvis to rotate forwards. Okay, this in turn promotes a better inward curve of the lumbar spine, and posture is improved. Okay, the extreme example of this is kneeling chair, which most people will know. Okay, where the knees are drastically lower than the hips. Okay, so about 45 degrees from the horizontal. This really does open up the hip angle and allow for a better posture. Okay, just a word of caution here. There are some chairs, and in fact some of the most popular chairs on the market, that actually have a recline in the seat in its neutral position, as in the bottom 2 images that I've shown on the screen there. Okay, this is not good. All right, it means that to sit forward to work at the desk, you have to close the hip angle even more, i.e. bend over even more, to get to the work surface. Okay, this puts strain on the lower back, and it's not a good position to work in, so should be avoided if at all possible. Armrests are great if they're positioned well. Okay, set too far forward, they tend to butt up against the edge of the desk, which could mean that you don't sit as close to the desk as you need to, or then lean forward out of the chair, so often losing any of the back support that's there. Armrests should be adjustable and in cases removable for those people who really don't get on with them. Okay, without the necessary adjustments, they can cause more problems than not. So if at all possible, just check the adjustments on the armrests of these chairs. And some chairs, such as the one in particular, the Haag H05, allows you to swing the armrest back and out of the way, which makes this chair in particular great for hot desking. Lumbar support. I mean, first of all, have a look at the natural shape of the backrest. Some have more pronounced curves and others are a lot flatter. Okay, but in addition to this, supplementary lumbar support can be added on some chairs. Okay, and there's really three ways of doing that. The first and probably the most effective is inflatable lumbar support, okay, which is built in within the backrest of the chair. Okay, the second is an additional almost mechanical panel, which again is built up into the structure of the chair, which can slide up and down, providing with a bit more lumbar support. And the third one used on mesh back chairs is a separate back panel, but again, this varies from chair to chair, and it can be debatable how effective these additional lumbar panels are, particularly on mesh chairs. Okay, as I said, not all chairs need additional lumbar support, so it's worth just bearing in mind. Looking at neckrest, badly positioned neckrest can be a problem and actually do more harm than good. So make sure it's adjustable in height and depth. And also, is it possible to add or remove as necessary? Now we start getting a little bit more technical in the approach to seating and the rocking mechanism. What I want to do is just show you the difference between synchro and non-synchro in a moment, but let's first confirm two tilt points that you generally find on rocking mechanisms. Okay, the first is central tilt, which generally tilts from a point at the center of the seat. Okay, this means that as you lean back, the front edge of the chair raises. Knee tilt basically pivots from the front edge of the chair near the knees, hence the name, which means that the front edge of the seat doesn't raise as you get in the central tilt, and the feet stay flat on the floor. Okay, there are two schools of thought here. The benefits of central tilt mean that the calves had to work to push the chair back. As a result, there's more movement in the area, which aids circulation in the lower limbs and throughout the body. Okay, the other school of thought is the benefits of knee tilt mechanism is that the front edge of the chair doesn't rise, so then there is reduced pressure on the back of the legs. Okay, so there's two schools of thought. I don't think one's more right than the other, but as long as there's the right sort of movement, then we don't really mind. Movement is great, okay, whichever way it comes. So let's look briefly at synchro versus non-synchro mechanisms and the debate there. Okay, so the next few slides will show you what synchro mechanism is and why we think that a non-synchro mech is better. Okay. So, just a description, that synchro mechanism is a mechanism whereby as the seat tilts backwards, the backrest tilts backwards in sync, but usually at a ratio of around 2 to 1. Okay, this means that as the seat reclines 1 degree, the backrest also reclines, but to 2 degrees. Okay, this ratio can change from say 1.5 to 2.5 to 1, but most commonly it's a 2 to 1 ratio. Okay, and the problem comes from the backrest dropping away and opening up the angle of the hips. Okay, the back support is lost as the chair reclines, as we can see in the image of the right. Okay, so as that backrest drops backwards, the pelvis rotates backwards. Okay, and as this happens, the back flattens out and you get this typical slouch position as seen on the right here. Okay, this isn't good. What we want to do is allow the user to recline in the chair but to slouch correctly, to show here. So non-synchro or one-to-one mechanism, the user reclines, the support is maintained on the user's back. Okay, the angle of the pelvis is maintained, and even in this slouch position where the user is leaning back, the S shape of the spine is maintained. Okay, this is what we call the correct slouch, and this is why we like it. So it's important to understand the differences, make your own mind up, Okay, but we believe that the non-synchro is best, and it's important that the back is supported in the right position, regardless of whether the user is slouched or not. So now we look to the function of the chairs, and you've decided which chair is right for you. Okay, it's important you receive the right instruction on its use. Okay, we offer a one-to-one service for most of our chair installations, where representatives from the company come around the office and spend time with each and every user, and we offer them instruction of how the chair best operates, and in order for them to get the full benefit from it. Okay, this is the best option, one-to-one training. Okay, if we don't get that, most companies might offer online instruction or written instructions as well, but obviously one-to-one is best. We've worked with some companies who like to have what they call chair champions. And in this instance, a few select individuals are trained on the use of the chair so that someone is always there on hand and on site to offer instruction as and when it's used. Okay, and these are often either the health and safety reps, the DSE assessors, or the facilities team. Okay, so that concludes the chairs and suppliers. And I hope we've covered in some depth the important differences between the suppliers and products. But what's best practice? Move. Okay, whatever chair we get, whatever route you decide to go down, we cannot emphasize this enough. Move, encourage your employees to move as much as possible. Okay, adopt an active working culture and you will see the benefits. I'll also send you our active working guidance for this, but whilst getting the right chair for your company is vitally important, you might want to consider height adjustable desks as part of an active working culture. But the notion of moving, standing meetings, walking meetings, there's so many different things that you can do as an organization to encourage movement, but you really will see the benefit. Okay, so last couple of minutes, I'd just like to highlight the services that we can offer you in selecting the right office chair. Okay, I'll also send you a document on this after this, as well as some other information that I've mentioned, but in summary, this is how we can help. We're the largest independent supplier of task seating in the UK, and through our experience over the years, we found that this process works best. So firstly, we provide a consultancy service to come and discuss your needs. Okay, and this can take as long as you like. It can take an hour, it can take more, it can take less, but what we want to do is really get under the skin, what you're trying to achieve. Okay, and by asking the right questions, we can get better results. Okay, so following that meeting, we then present a range of chairs, usually about 5 or so, and then present these to you along with guide prices. And following this and follow further discussions, we try and trim it down to maybe 2 or 3 chairs to trial. Okay, as mentioned earlier, user trials are really, really important. At the very minimum, you'll get 1 chair of each model from us to try, and depending on the size of the project, maybe more. Okay, we can help you get the feedback you're after through feedback forms and data collection, but again, it's important to get the information that you want to make the right decision. Okay, once the chair is selected, and we can then work with you to provide the perfect installation at a time and a date of your choice, and then we follow that up with one-to-one instruction with the user. Okay, and we can even collect old chairs if you like. Okay, you can find some case studies here, and I'll include that in the sort of follow-up email after today. But in summary, select the right supplier before selecting the right chair. Okay, this is really important. You're going to have an ongoing relationship with your supplier for the duration of the chair's lifetime, so it's really important the supplier is selected first. Ask for case studies and client references. It's really important that you're working with companies that have experience of this sort of thing. Hopefully, you can consider seating as an investment rather than the cost. And be aware of the functions and ergonomics of a chair. As I said, it can be confusing. We want to try and simplify it as much as possible. Make sure that the trial process is effective. And finally, get instruction on the use of the chairs to get the full benefit. Okay, so that's me. Thanks very much for dialing in. Have a great Friday. I'm sure there's going to be some questions following from this, but I'll hand you over to Chris, who's presenting me, and I'll see if we've got any questions.
Thanks, David. Very interesting. Thanks very much. And we do have a couple of questions actually. So that have come. Most of them just popped through at the end actually. So if anybody's got any more, feel free to stick them down the bottom right-hand side, and we'll either answer as many as we can right now, or we might answer them afterwards, either directly or through the website. So one of the questions is, what is the most important adjustment for a chair if you only had the option of one or two, David?
Okay. Well, I think let's just assume it's going to have height adjustment on the chair. It's difficult. It's really hard to narrow it down. As I said, I think seat depth adjustment is really important because you're then catering for people with different limb lengths. And I think some sort of movement mechanism as much as possible. So, I mean, given you're going to have the height adjustment, let's have seat slide and a bit of movement. If we have to narrow it down to 2 or 3, but I don't think we do have to narrow it down to that many. So hopefully you can have a few more.
Excellent. So all of them is probably your answer, I guess.
All of them, yeah.
And someone's asked what your opinion is on mesh-backed chairs. This could be controversial. I don't know.
Okay, it's a good question. I think it's the same with a lot of features that you get some really good mesh-backed chairs, and you get some. There are some that I've seen that are really poor, and I mean, I suppose a good example of this is the type of mesh being used. Often it's a thicker, it's a more robust, and often a cushioned mesh. They call it a 3D mesh. If this is used and if it's pulled really tight over the frame, it can be very much supportive to the chair. So it's worth sort of checking the tension, seeing how supportive that mesh is without any additional lumbar support. A lot of the time I think it's aesthetic, so it's what companies like to go for. I think we've sort of seen a trend in the market that's certainly mesh, but I think it's veering back towards sort of the standard sort of foam and fabric or upholstered chairs. So personally I think the upholstered type chairs offer more support. But again, if mesh is the route to go down, I think it's again just trying to sift out the good ones from the bad.
Okay. Excellent. And this is one that I've always forget what the answer is to, but David, you'll be all over this. So, is there a difference between asynchro and non-synchro, and do you like the independent mechanism options?
Well, the independent mechanism is a slightly different. The question, it's a little bit on interpretation. Independent mechanism often refers to the independent back angle, so it's being able to adjust the back angle independently of the seat. Once that's then adjusted, you've then got the total rocking mechanism of the chair. Yeah, an asynchro or non-synchro is essentially the same, and obviously synchro is that 2-to-1 ratio that I spoke about. So yeah, as far as I'm aware, and my interpretation of it is that asynchro and non-synchro are the same term. Well, yeah, it's the same, different term for the same thing.
Okay, excellent. Thanks very much. Now, if we order through Posturite, do we automatically also use office environments? I think what we really mean is, if we're a customer of Posturite, can we be a customer of office environments?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, office environments came about from we were working with clients who had a relationship with Posturite, and we used to supply 1 or 2 chairs, and then all of a sudden people said, well, can you supply a number of chairs for us? We're refurbishing the floor, whatever. Then it went from chairs to desks to storage to everything else that goes with it as well. And that's really how office environments came about. So it's a slightly different part of the business. It's very much under Posturite. As far as invoicing and business terms go, it all comes under Posturite. Office environments is just a division within that deals with projects, and whether that's seating projects, whether it's height adjustable desking, whether it's storage, fit out work, boardrooms, meeting rooms, reception, whatever it is, that's where the office environments team, so me and my guys, come and help out the account managers. But to all intents and purposes, it doesn't really make any difference. So specifically looking at chair projects, whether it comes under the Posturite banner or the office environments banner, it doesn't really make any difference from us. The service is the same regardless.
Good stuff. Okay, this one's actually slightly more related to desking and standing, but as the question there, it's one that always sparks a bit of debate. So can you tell me your thoughts about the Vary desks and the desks that allow you to turn a standard desk into a height adjustable desk without actually buying one, that permit workers to also stand for periods at their workstation? So David, what's your opinion on that?
Okay, well, when we first saw the Vary desk, I think we've been somewhat surprised at its popularity, but I think it holds a really good place in our sort of product portfolio. What it does allow for is for those individuals who need to sit and stand while working, that you can have this sort of retrofit product that sits on top of the desk that you can use for individuals. So, for instance, for those working environments where you might have a bank of 6 or 8 desks, that to actually take a desk out and replace it with a height adjustable desk isn't possible. So the Very Desk works really well in that instance. Works really well with, we found with health and safety and occupational health teams, they might hold trial product to use within their organization. So if an employee needs a sit-stand workstation, they might try the Very Desk first to try out its effectiveness, see if the employee benefits from it before going down the route of sit-stand desks. Looking in comparison to the two, Very Desk is a retrofit product, so it can fit on existing desks, but if clients are looking to go down the sit-stand height adjustable desk route, then the cost of sit-stand electric desks is coming down quite significantly more recently. So for my money, once you've actually bought the desk and you put a Very Desk on top of it, you've pretty much spent the same sort of money that you can to buy a complete electric desk.
Excellent, thanks very much. Yeah, thanks, David. I think that sums it up. I think we are already over time, but I think we've probably got time to sneak one more in. And that, what are the legal requirements for a chair that's in use in the 24-hour environment?
Okay, good. Yeah, another good question. There's a certification that's required for 24-hour use. So with certain chairs, I believe it's BSEN 5459 Part 2. Okay,
wow.
So there's certain chairs. I told you, my wife calls me the chair geek, so might as well live up to it. But there's certain credentials that those chairs, and there's certain certification and certain tests they need to pass in order to become 24-hour compliant. So again, it's just working out whether they've got that certification.
Brilliant. Okay, I think that's probably about all we've got time for. So thanks to everyone that's tuned in today and given up their Friday lunchtimes to listen to us talk about what we're passionate about. And thanks, David. That was fantastic. So next month we are talking about employment rights relating to disability, which is another interesting topic. So I hope you can join us for that. You can register at posturite.co.uk/webinars. So hope to see you all then, and have a great weekend, everyone.